the Idaho State Penitentiary that was closed down a long time ago. 1968?
Something like that.
Yeah. And apparently it's haunted. So before heading in, I talked to one of the workers and had them circle all of the hot spots within the prison and listed what you'd probably find there. Right outside the main prison is the women's ward. And in here, I caught some interesting audio. The women's ward was actually built after the prison in the former warden's house, and the male prisoners built a stone wall around it for the women. I didn't really catch much in any of the videos. However, I did find some what may be apparitions in the still photos. If you look at some of these photos and pay close attention, you can kind of see some orbs and things coming through, including some apparitions where my camera wouldn't focus. Last photo, there's actually stories of children seeing a woman in a rocking chair, and I find it fascinating that my camera caught it. Okay, so this one they said they won't go in ever by themselves. It's a hot spot. Voices, full body apparitions. Oh, locked doors. A dark spirit in the corner near the execution on the second floor. As soon as we walked in here, we immediately heard this sound coming from upstairs that almost sounded like a gate closing. Listen. I can't tell if that sound came from somebody upstairs or actually from... You can, the stairs are right there. When I pass this last cell, it almost seems like someone blew into my camera. Listen. There's also these crazy disembodied voices that our audio picked up. The maximum security ward held some of the most worst criminals, and upstairs is where death row was, as well as the gallows. I see a door. Dang it. The workers of the prison said that the maximum security was a big hotspot with voices, full-body apparitions, even a dark spirit downstairs at the bottom of the gallows, and the top floor was where there was a suicide by Hippie Joe. Welcome to Death Row. While we were walking through the Idaho State Penitentiary, we kept noticing this very strange scent. It was floral, almost soapy smelling, and from what we were told, a lot of people have reported this phantom smell, and usually it was a good spirit protecting you throughout. Why does it smell like soap? You smell it?
I smell something, but I'm not sure what it is.
Almost sweet smelling. This phantom scent followed us, and it was prominent in the maximum security at Death Row. It was again there in the laundry room, and then at the very end of the prison in the visitor rooms, which is crazy because all of those are known hotspots. Hippie Joe, You hear? Can you make a noise? Here's where we debunked the audio that we captured when we first entered maximum security. The sound that we heard of what it was a door closing came from this area, but the entire section of it is completely locked off from any visitors. Too afraid of people jumping. You know what? When we first came in and heard those loud sounds, it was coming from up here, but there's no way to get in there. Okay, well, moving on. Next. Doors locking on you. Ow. Oh my God. Ew.
This must be for the hanging.
Yep. This is where we got our next recording of what sounded like someone crying as they saw their loved one hanging. What's strange is that the audio file itself shows no fluctuations in audio, and yet you can clearly hear this disembodied voice crying. Let's see if you can see some of the apparitions we caught in the still photos. The laundry house. This laundry room is the most active, including demonic behavior, shadow people, even beach ball-sized orbs. And what I noticed was that while I was in this building, my camera had the hardest time focusing. And normally what that is it's trying to focus on shadow people. It's trying to focus on things that aren't there. In some of these photos, you can actually see apparitions that appear. My video camera would not even work in the laundry house. Which poses the question, what doesn't want to be found? Okay, this is the cooler and the Siberia. So the cooler has some activity and so does the backside. Oh, this is where the unwanted groping is. Siberia, where prisoners literally felt like they were sent to die. A tiny cell that was 8 feet by 2 feet. You literally can feel emotions so strong within this building. It makes you want to cry, and it makes you want to curl up in the fetal position, hoping that someday you'll see the light. Oh, I can't even imagine living here. Like, were these actual cells?
I think so.
Like, this one has a clear window. Did you catch
to
that?
show you how tiny
As soon as I
it
asked
is.
if these were actual cells, a door sound
they were cells.
happened.
No mail, no visitors, no reading, weekly shower.
These were the max prison cells, isolation.
Yeah. Look at that. The inmate's only source of light was what looked like an itty-bitty little chimney off the top of the roof, and it had no cover, so the rain came through, and the mud, and the hornets, and anything else from nature.
God, I have a fear of the dark too, so this sucks. Do you have an irrational fear when it comes to dark that if you shine a light, something might be like, ooh? Because I do.
My coping mechanism to fear is humor, as you can tell.
Oh, you can actually go in this one. I'm going in. Don't let that shut. Oh, good, there's a lock on it. What the? This is it?
This next recording I almost missed because it sounded so natural in the way it was. But while I was in this isolation room, at some point during one of my recordings, it sounds like someone writing, like someone would if they were in this isolation room with nothing else to do.
That's a sad cell. Don't make fun of me. That's all I felt, man. Like, step in there. Like, I'm happy out here, but you go in there and all you feel is sad. Like,
I feel that here.
yeah.
So I didn't want to step in there.
It's like, this is where I'm going to be in this little box for the rest of my life.
The one thing about the cooler and visiting it is the overwhelming emotions you get of just sadness and hopelessness. You can literally feel the emotions that all these inmates left behind. Hit subscribe so you can stay in touch. Volume 2 is coming soon, which includes even more findings that we had found at the Idaho State Penitentiary.